Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the Vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. It's always appreciated. We know that we do pop up episodes. This is the Vault episode 431, Sunday Trustee Training Daily Sins. So we definitely want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the Vault, episode 431, Sunday Trustee Training, Daily Sins. So this is definitely an important episode. We always come out and say, oh, these episodes are by demand based off of necessity and questions that we get in consultations throughout the weeks, through trustee training, through consultations, through trustee training in general. And keeping your ear to the street, understanding and knowing the needs of the marketplace. So today we want to provide thought leadership on what will be considered a deadly sin. Definitely a very important deadly sin. We could talk about many, but we want to highlight one of them straight from the beginning, which is showing up. We see so many people in the marketplace that we would like to encourage to stick out the situation. Uh, a lot of times in not just in life, the things that would be considered free in trusteeship, sometimes people don't put the energy into. So a deadly sin is not showing up for those things. For example, mentorship. How many people show up for mentorship? Is mentorship humbling? Yes. When you're being mentored, you're in a humble state. You're in a student mentality. That is the focus. Not having a student mentality creates a air of arrogance. So people say, "Oh, was me asking questions a bad thing? Should is there a stupid question? Am I asking too many questions?" Well, when the mentor says to you, "Well, you've asked me this question before," and then after it gets past the second time, it's noteworthy to know you may not be listening. It's not that the mentor didn't give you the answer the first time. It's that somebody may want to hear a specific answer, so they're perceptive listening instead of literal listening. And for that reason, it's a deadly sin. Why? Because in the particular case of asking a mentor a question, some people could say you could use perceptive listening when you're asking for specific instructions. Is a step-by-step process. How many people enroll for the step-by-step process? How many people enroll for a system? Or how many people enroll for, I just want to get what sounds good? The cup of tea, the cup of coffee of the day. Daily sins are definitely making business moves emotionally. Business moves require analytics. Business moves require the statistics. The business moves require the numbers. Let's stick to one of the main ones, which is not showing up. Maybe people think they can't show up every day, and that's where you're going to lose. You don't want to hear that, but that's fine by the vault, because it's a lifestyle. Trusteeship is a lifestyle. It's trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. It's a lifestyle. Why do you need to own things? The perceptive of owning. Because it's a program. Alright. When you engage in that lifestyle, clearly you gotta have a community of people that you're associating with the lifestyle, in the lifestyle, living the lifestyle. You associate. This is where you fail as a trustee if you don't do it. Oh man, I thought I was going to get past the first step because I had the knowledge. You do have the knowledge, but who are you working with? Who are you in partnership with? Who are you in cooperation with in the lifestyle? This is a part of showing up. Oh man, a mentor, they're driving a V12 engine. The mentor, they seem so content and happy with living a life of being a trustee. They are. They own nothing, control everything. Takes away a lot of stress. Takes away a lot of anxiety. Okay. So when should I call a mentor? Where are you calling them for business? Or are you calling them for personal? The mentor said the only way people value something is if they pay for it. it you want to get around this theory. It's a modern money mechanic theory. Oh man, I don't know if I should pay with Federal Reserve notes, because if I was really worth $1 a minute, that'd be worth $60 in an hour, and that could mean something in the life. Because if I go 2 hours, that's $120, right? Well, if I go 3 hours, it's more. Right. So let's look at that. The association. It's gonna cost you. The deadly sin is they don't show up. Oh man, I don't know. It costs. It costs. That's what they say. That's the first thing that come out their mouth. It costs. Right. You're in the private sector. Everything costs. There's no freebies over here. That's why they call it wealth management. Oh, the private side of the bank is the wealth management side of the bank. The private side of the bank's not the public side. It's not just a depositor relationship. Right. The deadly sins, though. Oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna show up. Well, if you don't show up, you're not gonna get the jewels and the gems. Showing up is making that business phone call. Showing up is making that personal phone call. Oh man, mentor, I just wanted to make sure you knew somebody was thinking about you today in a positive light. You wouldn't say you had them in your prayers, but you had them in your prayers. Hey, I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you and wanted to wish you the best. And and it's always best to call with questions. So do they show up with questions? Oh man, I don't know if I have questions this time. Well, the mentor is gonna go rather quickly. Showing up is the webinar that we have coming up. Gonna go ahead and put it on the screen. The Vault is coming out with a webinar. This webinar is where are we at? On the 19th of November. We're doing it for our trustees predominantly, particularly foundation trustees. But then we're going to go over, have some people that aren't involved, open the door to them. This is an online webinar only. You can feel free to reach out. HFRN period vault at gmail.com. We definitely want to, go ahead and at least share that with you all. Everybody always asks, well, what do you guys got going on? So we're sharing with you all what we have going on at the vault. On the 19th, we're going to have that webinar. And then in turn, people that are not, with the organization or, at least going through trustee training in that respect, move forward in that respect. So definitely always are thankful for the people that aren't in the training that at least want to find out what's going on. And then at the same time, when we talk about trustees that are foundation trustees, we're getting here at the end of the year. Once again, this is association. Oh man, I gotta pay. This is the association, but the foundation trustees, they're in it already. So we're getting closer to the end of the year. It's a training session. We're going to be going over Not just the basics of, oh, are you going to be dealing with charities and, yeah, that's it talks about that public versus private foundation, but it also, when we talk about charity, we're talking about investing from a charity perspective, not just uh, being, somebody sitting over there, not having a directive or a mandate or a reason to get something done. So we're definitely going to talk about that. Uh, Private family banking, well, there you go. Everybody on the internet, I guess nowadays, wants to talk about private family banking, and that's fine. We hear it, but one thing we know for sure is that, when you get in the lifestyle, when you're in the private sector, there's specific things that specific people you really want to know. Not everybody can get the job done. We've seen it countless and countless times. It's when you talk about 1% information, you're specifically seeking out, those specific rooms. And, we're just talking about a niche room. Once again, we're just opening up the doors, making it applicable to where if we were to sit down with someone one on one, what it would be, for an hour, but we're actually going multiple hours. It's going to be a training session. In that respect. And once again, the private family banking individuals are going to be in the room, families are going to be in the room. Avoiding probate and estate liens. These are a big deal. We see so many countless families that so-called are rich, and next thing you know, it takes 10 years to dissolve their estate, or 10 years to put their estate in some type of a semblance because these people had money put in so many different places. They didn't have it titled properly. It wasn't titled properly, so in turn, it was most likely in their name, and you just see those type of things happen. And compliance and charity, we definitely want to talk about that, because when you're dealing with the sector, you really just want to make sure you know the basics. We were sitting there talking to a family recently, and we asked them the basics. If you don't know the basics of what you're doing, it's got to be important. As a senior trustee of a family estate, you're sitting in a room with the lawyers, you're sitting in a room with the accountants. We've had trustees recently tell us, oh, yeah, we got our annual meeting with our accountants and our lawyers. Right. That's what happens this time of the year, or as you get closer to the end of the year, maybe in the third quarter, maybe even in the first quarter. This is what happens. You do have to be able to sit in a room and know, okay, this is this person's job, even though you're not doing it. Everybody wants to be the CEO. Well, the senior trustee is the CEO. The senior trustee is the individual that knows what's going on. They're involved. So when we talk about showing up, they're involved. They're making a list of lawyers that they have for contacts. They're making a list of accountants that they have for contacts. It's not one accountant. Y'all see on the vault. We've interviewed multiple accountants. We're not going to discriminate. If you're at the top of your game and you're good at what you do and you're executing, that's basically it. We interviewed the accountants, so you know about compliance. So when we talk about it from the private sector, one, and two, from the foundation perspective, that's important. You got to know the specific people. But oh, everybody, I'm in the sector, I'm over here, I'm private, I'm blah, blah, blah. Remember, the so called private sector is the wealth sector. Are you associating with wealthy people? Wealth minded people. Oh, everybody say, you got to associate with the people that think like you. Oh, really? Are you associating really with people that think like you, tens of millions of dollars, $50 million, $100 million? Are you thinking like that? Or is it, oh man, I'm just trying to make $100,000 a year? That'll be a good amount of money to be able to live me a decent lifestyle. You know, the association, they didn't show up. The mentor said, go read a book. Oh man, Trust Christian Revolt, it's a lot of reading. It sounds like it's a lot of reading. It is a lot of reading. Trust Christian, you doing this much reading? Yeah. Still to this day, different reading, but reading nonetheless. Oh, I love Warren Buffett. Everybody loves Warren Buffett, but Warren Buffett says he reads 3 to 4 hours a day. How many people are really reading 3 to 4 hours a day? It's no way Warren Buffett's old. He's that old and he's reading 3 to 4 hours a day. Yes, he's reading 3 to 4 hours a day. It may not be a novel, but it's financial information. Well, where is he getting all this financial information from? It's all these unlimited amount of questions. The deadly sins is not associated and saying, dang, I gotta read 3 hours a day so I can be on that what? Warren Buffett level, where you're managing 200 million or 200 billion. Oh no, I don't know, man. That's a lot of reading. And that's why you're not managing 200 million. You think anybody at that level is not reading 2 to 3 hours a day? You're lying to yourself. The deadly sins is not associated with people of this caliber, of this ilk, that they can tell you that they're reading 2 to 3 hours a day. Oh, trust Christian, are you reading 2 to 3 hours a day? Yes. Yes. It has to become a part of your lifestyle. The deadly sins, because you didn't read, you're not going to associate with the mentor. The mentor tells you go read a book. You're supposed to go read the book. And when you read the book, you come back with notes. You come back with questions. You don't want the mentor to say, well, I remember that one time I told you to get the book. I told you about a book. Did you get the book? Yes. Did you read it? Yes. What came after that? Well, I read the book. Was it overwhelming? Did you need to read it twice? Oh man, I didn't know I had to read the book more than once to comprehend it. I didn't know if it was that profound of a book. But I want to read on the internet. People want to read on the internet. Well, let me just read on the internet. What's on the internet? Let me get all the Google easy information. Really? Stepped into the private wealth section. These are systems of managing money. Systems. People in the system, they do it together. It's the same on the public side. Sunday trustee training, daily sins. The biggest, one of the biggest daily sins is lack of association or making it a point to associate. Oh man, I gotta do whatever it takes. Maybe so. Maybe so. But is it one of those things, is wealth management one of those things that whether you're overtly going to things that you know may be out of your league at that moment, or are you subvertly not stretching yourself and going to these events? Whether it's the webinar, webinars, workshops, whether it's other events, what are you getting as a tangible result out of the situation? Relationships. People want to count the money. They can count the money. But what are you getting? Relationships. This is another deadly sin. How you going to advance past where you at if you associating with people where you at? Now, to some people that may make sense. But in all actuality, this is what makes sense about it. If you keep associating with the people that's pretty much doing the same thing you doing, you're going to keep having the same thing you have. It's going to be rather challenging to break out of that habit, break out of those ways. Why? You're surrounded by what you are comfortable with. So, oh man, I don't know. I might have to go get around people that's making millions. making hundreds of millions. Might have to do that. Why? So you can associate with those people and and that's a new comfort zone. Oh man, the deadly sin is I'm gonna go to the workshops. I'm not gonna go to the speakers and build that relationship. I'm gonna talk to the people in the crowd because that's what I'm comfortable with. The mentors told us, don't talk to nobody at the workshop. Oh man, what do you mean don't talk to anybody at the workshop? Mentor said everybody's at your level. That's why they sitting out there and the people on stage are on stage. Okay, so we got to build a relationship with the people that are on stage. Right. Oh man, it's comfortable because the people in the crowd telling me everything that sounds good to me right now. The mentor might be saying some things that literally from stage we can see people's body language and we can see that people when they get the information that are private, it changes the way they view things. It's a different way of looking at life. It is. Oh, it is. Yes, because it's different. It's just the private. It's not the public sector. Public sector says you own a house, you own a car. You know, they talk about the public stuff. That's what's in the public, and then there's the private. Okay. Well, in the private sector, there is an education that comes with the relationships. You get an indirect education by associating. The mentors told us associate with the people, not necessarily that we want to say, oh, you want to be like, but if the mentor is living a lifestyle that you think is pretty much a good comfort zone for you, it's safe to say you would associate with them. You would get around them. You would ask them questions. You wouldn't take breaks. As soon as you take a break on a relationship with the mentor, the mentor notices it. You think the mentor is successful and doesn't know that they the relationships they have around them? This is the word that the mentors live by. You want to know why you admire the mentors? Because they're consistent. So you admire the mentors because they're consistent. Are you consistent? Are you hungry? Oh man, I said I wanted, but you know what they say? Life. The mentors turned it. They gave us the easy failure term. So when you hear it, you know it's a failure. They also prepared us for the consistency. When you see the mentors working in old age, it's not an accident. They don't have to work. Mentors have been given property, gifted property. How do you get gifted property? By associating with people that have been gifted property. Oh man, that was the easy one. If the mentors are in a position where they were given some free property, what makes you think they won't give you any free property? Oh man, the mentors, they are living a different life. Is that your comfort zone, your new comfort zone? Oh man. So I got what do you want to know? The mentors used to send us postcards. Postcards. Where are you at? What room are you in? Where we're going down to the spa. We're going down to the pool. Where are you at? Oh dear. Just wanted to write you a letter. Let you know. It might be cold where you are. But what room are you in? What room are you? They would always ask, what room are you? What room number are you here? Ah man, these places the tropical islands of the world? Are you associating? What makes you think the mentors don't want you to go on a trip with them in a foreign destination? How you gonna get out of those? How you gonna get those results if you don't associate? You have to associate. It's almost like you have to go out of your way. Do you have to go out of your way to build a relationship with a mentor? Do you? Do you really have to build a relationship? You gotta go out of your way. No, I ain't going out my way. I don't really know that person like that. I don't really trust them, and I don't really know. And I got rules and I got ethics and I got morals, and so I'm not gonna make it a point to go out my way to have that 1% relationship. So I know I had that 1% relationship for a long time and a tight, and I can get as much 1% information as I possibly can out of that relationship. I'm not gonna do too much to burn that relationship. I'm gonna do my best to preserve that relationship 100%. Really? Hmm. Well, that's what we know. It's one of those things where you idiosyncratically get an understanding that when you associate with wealthy people, you're a wealthy person too. Oh man, that's a hard one to grasp right there, 'cause I gotta have it tangible in my hands. You ain't gonna ever really have the millions tangible in your hands, but will they be in a bank account that you're managing? Possibly. Will they be in an account that you're managing? Possibly. But even when you have that type of capital, are you associating with people with that type of capital? Or are you associating with people that are in lower level comfort zones? Oh, this is a hard reality to grasp, Trust Christian. You giving me the hard work today. I didn't want to hear it, but I'm hearing it. Hey, don't worry. The money is here, sitting, waiting for you. It's waiting for you to do the things that are required to manage it consistently and not lose it. See, the money managers in our sector, we don't lose money. At the end of every year, we're up. That means positive. How do you end up like those wealth managers that say, yeah, we didn't lose anything this year? The wealth managers, you associate with them. Well, we have a webinar coming up. It's for the foundations, and that's what we're talking about. They say all these foundations they don't have the money because they got to get their money in a position of where they can grow it. Well, that's what the training is about. You got to systematize the management. You got to systematize it. How do you do that? Associating with good managers. That's it? Right. You're going to see best practices that are going to be shared. Best practices for what you're doing. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. We're not here to do anything. We're here to do best practices. And those things are ever evolving. As a trustee, you're growing the wealth. So things are going to grow. Things are going to change from one generation to the next. Do you have good communication systems in place? Oh, wow. Did he say that? A communication system? Did he say that? Is that what we really need to have in place to pass along wealth from one generation to the next? First of all, you're not going to make it past the first to the second, which is a 70% drop off. Oh, man, I made it. Yeah, you did. 70% drop off. Second gen doesn't make it. Second gen's not going to hand off anything to the third. 70%, they already got it calculated. You can go into wealth management environments, they'll tell you so over 69 plus percent is actually 70 plus percent. Oh, how do we mitigate this? How do we lower this problem, Trust Christian Revolt? Because that's really what we need to do. We need to lower this problem. It's called have good communication systems in place. Communication systems are fluid. They're fluid. They're never just stagnant. This is why you have regular meetings. Oh man, I gotta have a meeting once a week with my children. I gotta have a meeting once a month with my children. 12 meetings a year. 12 meetings a year. Association. When they understand that they were dragged into a meeting, hey, we need to have these meetings. Why? Because, well, he left us 100 million and we were dragged into the meetings. He left us a couple million. They left us a couple million. We were dragged into the meetings. We're going to implement the meetings in our family. We're not about to let anybody swindle us out of a couple million after our parents left us a couple million. Right. They dragged us into 12 meetings a year. We're at least going to have four. We're at least going to have 12. We got to do what our parents do. They left us 10 to 20, 30 million, and we're not going to tell our significant others. It's between the children. It's a private family estate. Why would they tell the significant others? It's private. Oh man, is it that? Is it that real? It's that real. Oh, it's that real. So children have a private family estate that they're managing and maybe have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million. Their significant others don't know. When major bills come up, they can pay for it from the family estate because it's a family emergency for their family. The children's education, that's a family emergency. You got to get educated out here. Oh man, I don't know if I need to get educated. The training is that. I don't know if I need to invest in my education. First of all, we're just going to go ahead and say it. If your education doesn't cost equal to or greater than your financial earnings, you can't expect your financial earnings to outproceed your financial education. That's just the way it works. Oh man, I didn't know that. I got to put money into the financial education. Clearly, you're in a competitive environment. The world's competitive. People are competitive on the money level. Man, my family estate, I don't know if somebody trying to take it. Look, first of all, let's just say you give it over to the bank and they manage your family estate. They're going to hit your family estate with fees. So if you can't manage it internally, if your children can't manage it internally, if your grandchildren can't manage it internally, at one point the bank is going to get 30% of the estate, maybe long term, maybe at 3%. 3% of $1 billion is a lot of money. 3% of $100 million is a lot of money. 3% of $30 million is a lot of money. They're still getting fees from the generational management. Oh, really? Yes. How do you get around that? You got to have good communication systems in place so you communicate how to manage money from one generation to the next. It's almost like you got to write an internal book. Oh man, everybody wants to write a book, but did you write a book? Did you write a book for your family? A manual for your family for the first generation to the next? This is what you learn from the mentors. You got to have a successor manual. Why? Because it's family passing along information from one generation to the next. It's the education. It's the education that you're giving to you. Hey, you want to know how I gave it all? Because I focused. Want to know how I got it all? Because I was laser beam focused on the passion. You want to know how I got it? Because I associated with these key and integral relationships in my life. These relationships took me to the next level. It wasn't a lot of relationships, but these specific relationships, I went out of my way. You can actually write that in the book. Yeah, there's some relationships in life, I'm going to go out of my way. Right. And then there's others you're going to let go. But are you consistent? Are you consistent in showing up? Are you consistent in communication with that mentor? After a while, when you build a relationship, you got to have communication, right? Right. Are you slacking on your communication? That's a deadly sin, especially with your mentor, because your mentor notices it. If the mentor is consistent, you admire that trait. They notice it when people around them don't have it. It's a deadly sin. You got to correct it if you don't and be consistent. That's it. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. HFRN period vault at gmail.com is the email. You can feel free to reach out for the workshop. We look forward to hearing from you. Definitely looking forward to this workshop. It's going to be a great one. This is an online webinar, so we're not doing anything in person. This is just online. It's free for the foundation trustees. Um, and if you're not in the foundation, you know what it is. It's on the screen there. So HFRN period vote at gmail.com. Look forward to hearing from you. This is definitely one of those episodes we had to do because there's so many things you could say. Oh, well, what is a deadly sin? It's so many things, right? Right. So how do we get around knowing that there's so many things, but there are some big ones. They're lethal. You don't go into the private, which is the wealth division, and not associate with wealthy people on a consistent basis. You're not going out of your way to associate with people who make more money than you. What you talking about? Of course, you gotta associate with people that make more money than you to make more money. How does it not sound like an oxymoron? Oh man, I'm gonna just associate with people making less money than me, and I'm gonna make more money. Right? It doesn't work that way. You gotta associate with people that are making more money than you. So if that's the case, you might have to go out your way. But it's not going out your way. It's just you getting comfortable with being comfortable, knowing that that's how much it costs to manage that type of money. That's what the education costs. That's what the fluidity of the education. You don't get to make and keep millions, hundreds of thousands. You don't get that and not make it a point to manage it with an education. When Warren Buffett's reading 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day, now you know he's paying for the education through reading. That's what happens. You pay for it through the reading. Appreciate Mississippi for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate Mississippi for tuning in live, listen, replay. We got Memphis tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate Memphis for tuning in live, listen, replay. Well, we definitely wanted to go in and talk about some of the deadly sins. If it's not you investing in your education, you got to invest in your education. The family's got to invest in the education. It's pertinent. It's actually one of the most important things outside of quote unquote generating capital. Oh man, we didn't know that that was the real cost. That's one of the costs. Those things show up on the books when you're traveling and you're putting to work and you're building those relationships through communications cost. Those things cost. Taking action, getting around those people, associating with those people. It cost. It costs time, it costs money. No doubt about it. Is it cheap? Well, it clearly you're not even going to associate with that word cheap anymore once you're in that category of hey, I guess this is the life I'm living here. Exactly. You just buy into the lifestyle. Is an education gonna cost you 350? Sure. Is it gonna cost you 700? Sure. Is it gonna cost you 1600? Sure. Is it gonna cost you 2900 for a workshop? Sure. Those things are very realistic in today's day and age, for sure. And what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna say, hey, I don't know if I should make that payment and pay that cost to be the boss and associate? Oh man, it costs just to associate? Yes, it costs to associate. It's like asking you, are there travel costs associated with associating with people in specific areas? Yes, There are travel costs and there are room and board costs. And then there's educational costs. These are things that are very real when you're building a family estate. Trusteeship. Oh, I'm in trusteeship. And the first generation has to work the hardest at getting actually the education. Even though you see a lot of first gens will send the second gens to college and they'll get these management degrees and different type of things. But the thing about it is do they have that spirit, the grit and grind? Do they see the minutes? Do they see that? It's just interesting. Like we gotta make it a point to we gotta make it a point to get around those things if you're engaging in those things, and if not, you're focused on what's the best thing for you and the family, and that's obviously being educated, not necessarily being the smartest person in the room. We could always say that, oh man, do you gotta be the smartest person in the room? You're not gonna be the smartest person in the room, but associating and getting around people that are smarter than you in particular areas of expertise, particularly finance and finances and business, when they're managing hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever, there's millions of dollars, then you see it might rub off. You might get a couple jewels or gems in 8 hours, right? Or in a couple days, right? Right. So it cost. And it's a continuing education. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Was it HFRN period vault at gmail.com? Feel free to reach out. HFRN period vault at gmail.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Peace. Enjoy.